Hello, and welcome to the new episode of More Than the Dress. My name is Michele Meyer-Shipp, and I am the CEO of Dress for Success Worldwide. More Than the Dress is a podcast brought to you by our organization, Dress for Success. And in this podcast series, we're exploring the challenges and triumphs that women face today in their day-to-day lives. Join us as we hear inspiring stories of women navigating tough issues, breaking through barriers, and celebrating their resilience and their strength. Dress for Success is about much more than clothing, hence the name of our podcast, More Than the Dress. Dress for Success started out providing professional attire to women in need, but over the last 26 years, we have expanded our programs to provide career coaching, job skills readiness, mentoring, networking, and more. Our goal is to really help women by helping them inspire confidence and determination from the inside out. So as we begin this journey together on our podcast, More Than the Dress, I thought I'd take a few minutes to just share a little bit about my own story here as the leader for Dress for Success. So first of all, I have to say that helping others has always been a goal of mine, and it's really evidenced from the earliest stages of my career. I graduated from Rutgers University and Seton Hall University School of Law in my home state of New Jersey, where I live. And after that, I actually launched into a decade-long career practicing employment law in both the public sector and the private sector. It was pretty fun work at the time. I really enjoyed it. During that time, my focus was on advising and coaching my clients on optimal policies, practices, procedures to help achieve equity in the workplace. For me, it was always about equity and helping others achieve that wherever they were. Then I spent the next decade of my career leading talent, human resources, and diversity efforts at a bunch of different companies, actually. I was the Global Chief Diversity Officer at Prudential Financial. Then I went to the law firm of Aiken Gump. And then my final role as a Chief Diversity Officer was at KPMG. And in each of those roles, I was still focused on equity, but with a slightly different lens. I helped those organizations spearhead efforts related to recruiting underrepresented talent, engaging, developing, and retaining that talent. I really tried to help equip the companies with the resources they needed to authentically and transparently address diversity, equity, and inclusion at the organizations. And just before I came to Dress for Success to become the CEO, I served as Chief People and Culture Officer at Major League Baseball. In that role, I was actually responsible for overseeing HR, diversity, and office operations for the league office. And there, all things related to our people fell under my umbrella. And again, it gave me a great scope and space to really focus on equity in all angles of the employee life cycle. I also served as an advisor to the commissioner and to the team owners across the league on issues relating to navigating talent. It was pretty neat. I had a great time. And then we all know what happened next. We had the pandemic, COVID-19. So amid what many have coined in the HR realm, the Great Resignation, when many people were leaving jobs for a variety of reasons during the pandemic, I actually had cause to reevaluate my own career journey as my family navigated the pandemic and my third son went off to college. After sitting back and reflecting, I decided that after more than 25 years in corporate America, doing these different roles I just described, I wanted to do something a little different. So I decided to refocus my attention and my talents to giving back directly to underserved communities in a really direct way. And I chose to do that via nonprofit service. I like to coin this period of my own kind of development as my personal great reevaluation. And it was during this period of reevaluation that I was really fortunate enough to be presented with the opportunity to lead Dress for Success Worldwide as CEO. Recognizing the organization's profound impact on women, helping them regain confidence, support their families, rebuild their lives, I knew this was the ideal next step in my career, aligning my passion with my experience and my professional goals. So I'm really excited and really thankful to hold this position. And I'm really happy to be able to bring you our podcast, More Than the Dress, so you can hear from some other amazing women who have navigated triumphs, who have navigated challenges, who have done great things. And let's all be inspired by their stories together. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited for the journey ahead of us. Today, we have a very special guest, Faith Martin. You might know her from The Golden Bachelor. From unexpectedly launching a radio career in 1980 to becoming a beloved morning show host in Tri-Cities, Washington, Faith's journey is as dynamic as her personality. A talented musician, avid horse rider, devoted grandmother, and recent standout contestant on ABC's The Golden Bachelor, Faith's life is a vibrant blend of passion, adventure, and heart. She's an amazing woman. You're going to love this conversation. So join us as we dive into her fascinating life and career, hear what she learned along the way, and get her invaluable advice for our listeners. So without further ado, let's get to our guest, Faith Martin. First of all, thank you so much for joining us and being our first special guest for our podcast. So excited to have you.
So excited to be here. I thank you so much. I loved meeting you the first time, and it's spectacular that I get another opportunity to talk with you today. And it's very exciting to be the first person on your podcast.
Yes, it is. Yes,
I'm
it is.
very honored. I'm honored.
I'm glad. You know, it's funny when we were thinking about this podcast, we were thinking about like highlighting people who've had amazing careers, who've had really interesting journeys, who have done, you know, different things, and hearing the trials, the tribulations, how they navigated, and all of the things to give people guidance and insight and what success looks like and how you navigate it, right? With all the ups and downs. So the first question I want to ask you, Faith, is, you know, you've had this amazing career as a teacher, a singer, a beautiful model, an influencer, and a radio host. So all very different and distinct things. How did you navigate this movement and then success in each of these areas?
You know, it's so interesting just to hear it coming from you like that. First of all, I would have never thought that I would be in a platform where anyone would think I was successful at anything. I struggled through so much of my life in personal and in professional. And of course, you know what it's like to be a woman in the early years of media. It was tough. It was backbiting. I never chose to be a radio person. I kind of just fell into it. And then I was forever trying to get out of it, saying, I'm not a radio person. The reason why I went into it was because I loved music and I loved connecting with great people. So that was fun for me. But what's interesting is that it wasn't like I was navigating ever through my career to find success. I was surviving my career and surviving everything that came my direction. And when opportunities opened up for me, that's when I would really try to seize them. But to be quite honest, I didn't really have any grandiose illusions or delusions of becoming a famous person, of becoming a number one radio personality, of really becoming anything. My only thing that kind of led my path in life is I got to do what I love and what I enjoy. So if I can't find a way to love it, I'll probably leave it. So for me, I followed my passions all along. I used to tell my kids, learn and do what you love and spend the least amount of time doing what you have to do in order to do the things you love to do. So build your life around the things that you love to do. Find passion and meaning in it. And if you can't find a way to love it, then find another path, So that's kind of how I led my life, always a little more with my heart than my head.
Yeah.
Because of that, I wasn't always financially very profitable, but I enjoyed my life, I think, much more than a lot of people did. You couldn't pay me enough to sit in a workplace and have a boring job. I'd rather work super hard, but be doing something that I loved. So I put my heart into everything that I did, whether it was music or radio or, anything. And the other thing I would say that I did was I never let the bounds of what the logistics were keep me from moving on to those opportunities. For instance, you were supposed to have a bachelor's degree to be a morning news anchor. I didn't. You were supposed to have, an education degree to be a teacher. I didn't. Somehow, and people always reached out to me. The news anchor job started with, Faith, can you fill in? Because you're a radio person, can you fill in for a while till we hire someone? I said, sure, I can do anything. I was on radio, went into morning news anchor, did that. And then they said, do you want to go full time? I'm like, sure. So, connecting the dots, finding those opportunities and seizing the moment was what really made it kind of happen for me.
I love that. So I was taking notes copiously as you shared this, because I think these points are so important. You do what you love and love what you do, seize opportunities, and don't let the technicalities trip you up. I think those are great words of advice. Let me ask you this. So along the journey with all of the things, you did mention that sometimes things might have been tough going through some of the spaces. How did you navigate through those tough times or those tough environments or those tough people? Because they're always there no matter where you go.
There are. Usually I find that back in the day and any current times too, when people have troubles at work or something, I mean, honestly, Michelle, I used to go home crying every night when I worked at this one particular company. And I remember driving home crying to my sister, and she said, Faith, are you sure it's not in your own head? Are you sure you're not perceiving this weirdly? Can you look at this a different way? And she's a psychologist, by the way. But the thing is that I kept thinking, okay, maybe it's just me. So I just sort of thought, I'm going to accept that everybody in my workplace is in their own journey, in looking through their own lens. It's their own perspective. I'm not going to let others change the way I feel. So every morning, whether they hated me or not, whether they were stabbing me in the back or not, I'd come in, good morning, hope you have a good day today, blah, 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 blah. I tried to be the best I could be in spite of some of the faces that I was seeing. And it wasn't honestly until I think 13 years later, one of the people that came to me from that company and they said, Faith, I got to apologize. I am so sorry how we all treated you. And I said, what was that? I wondered if it was in my head or if it was really real. What was it? He said, it was nothing but jealousy. It was nothing but jealousy because things came so easily for you. And I said, easily for me? Oh my gosh, I never had the abilities and the skills that some of you had. And he said, but you always did so well with the people part. And that's where we couldn't fake that. You can learn a skill. Yeah. You can't learn to have people follow you. And I had been getting like #1 radio personality awards and things like that. Not because I was any good at it, because I was just me. And somehow I've been blessed with kind people that are okay with me just being me.
That's right.
So, but that was really, really challenging to my psyche and to my self-esteem, to just I'd walk into a room and people would roll their eyes and turn around, just things that were really, really hurtful back then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you learn to just have to say when people are nasty and rude, sometimes it's things that they're dealing with on a personal level that have nothing to do with you. And you got to look at it too, because it could have something to do with you. Did you say something offhanded that they misunderstood? So I certainly was inquisitive enough to try to find that out. But after that point, I just kind of thought, life's too short to let anybody ruin my day and to make me look through their lens when I want to choose to look through my own, which is a better place.
That's awesome. I love that perspective because that really is what it's all about. I think about all the times we worry about what other people are thinking and we're not guided by our own feelings and experience. I love that. Thank you for that. Let me ask you a question, and the same question in a slightly different way. So a lot of the women that we serve, when they come to us, they're maybe overcoming a life challenge or they're overcoming a really hard time or a traumatic situation, and their confidence may not be as strong as it needs to be as they're walking into these new environments or a new job, et cetera. So, did you ever find yourself feeling insecure? And if so, how did you navigate your own insecurities despite whatever other people were doing? It's like, how do we get out of our own heads? And if you ever found yourself in that space?
Oh, heavens, yes. So if you know anything about my background, I grew up with a mother that was mentally ill, schizophrenic, and personality disorder, an alcoholic father. We were very, very poor. My mother was married 6 times. I felt like, the oddball in every situation. Neighborhood friends weren't allowed to play with us. It was a very challenging and trying time to grow up in a household filled with, whether it was violence or chaos or instability and, just delusional, and which is why I left home at such an early age. And don't think that didn't walk every step with me through life. Took me years and years and years, and I still carry it with me, as we all do. I didn't really have parents. I always describe it as, for so much of my life, I felt like I was apologizing for my existence. I felt like I was in the way, like I wasn't anything of value, that I was just, let me, I'm taking up space. Maybe I shouldn't even be here. So certainly I didn't have any confidence for so many things. And I honestly don't know how I made it through things like that. I know that when I was young, I was, very ADD, and I wasn't ever, as a small child, I never slept at night because there was so much chaos going on in my home. And so when I'd get to school the next day, I just felt sick to my stomach, and it was just so hard. It was so hard, coming from a strange place always. But I think where I honed in and where I learned through the years is that no home, no matter how it looks, is ever normal. There is no normal. Everybody has such unique challenges, and no one can know what other people are going through, even if they look differently. And the one thing that I sort of held on to is I am unique. My situation is unique. My being, myself, my personality, my brain, I learn differently than other people do. I am completely different than everyone else, and yet we are all connected. And so I feel like I certainly wouldn't judge someone else in a situation where they came from. I try not to judge people by the way they look, or, by so many things, because really it's our souls that we need to connect. And so I feel like just embracing who we are in our soul and embracing our uniqueness and being proud that, hey, I made it through those rough times and I didn't give up. Certainly there were times where I wanted to give up and throw in the towel. But really, life is such an adventure, and there's so much more, and you never know what's going to happen around the next corner. So I think I started to become proud of myself. Like, hey, that's okay that you went through that. And that's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you better for having overcome those challenges. So I feel so unique, and I'm okay with saying my differences and saying how I'm not normal in some ways, and I do things and think things, and I'm things that are just different than other people. And I'm okay with that because there was nobody just like me. So I think that's probably where I drew my confidence, really was just, I finally just started to embrace my uniqueness and be okay with who I am.
I love that. It's so funny that you said that, because I literally talk to people all the time about how our challenges make us stronger, and our all of the things we have to overcome help us persevere. It shows resilience and all the things, and everything you just talked about in your experience. You really exemplify that resilience, that courage, that strength. So I can totally see, that leads right to confidence. So thanks for sharing that. And thanks for being so vulnerable and open in that, because I think that's something that we don't talk about, our challenges often, and we don't freely share. And then sometimes people find themselves being like alone and isolated and on an island. And when you share and you realize, oh, wow, like, God, I had a tough time too. And wow, it's okay. Like, it's fine. I'm good. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're sure welcome.
Yeah.
People often, they'll say that. They'll say, you're so genuine. And I think I must have missed the memo that it was, okay to be someone else, because I just really am unapologetically myself.
It's amazing.
Good and bad. I just think, why not? You're only here, a short time, and I don't want to give anyone a false face. This is just who I am. I have my good days, my bad days, my ugly days. It's human. I think we all do.
I love that. Live human. That's what it's all about. So let me ask you this. So now, fast forward all the amazing things you've done. as busy as you are, you raising a family, like all the things, how do you manage your well-being today, current state, as you do all the things you do? Because that's, another challenge that we often hear about, especially from the women we serve, is, there's so much happening. Things are moving so fast. We're bombarded with so much information. We have so many responsibilities. How do you manage your own well-being and self-care?
Well, I will tell you first off, not very well. It's a challenge to me on a daily basis. I constantly have to work at it. I try to follow the example of my sister, who has always been very good at taking care of herself. And I always took care of myself after I took care of everyone and everything else. But I realized what that got me, and it wasn't very healthy. So I try to put myself first. In other words, if I can't be the best I can be, I'm no good to anybody, so I need to sleep. I need to eat really good. I need to exercise. I mean, I know everybody's heard it a million times. We hate hearing it. We hate it because it's one of those things we have to do. But if I'm not exercising, if I'm not feeling fit and agile and limber, if my body hurts, anything's going to make me cranky is if I'm not feeling good myself. So in order to not be cranky, I got to sometimes sacrifice a little by getting up a little extra earlier, going for a walk or a jog or going to the gym, trying to get that exercise in. And I have to take the time to do the old meal prep so that I'm eating healthy food, non-processed food, good food. And then I have to take care of my spirituality. I have to get up in the mountains. I will be a grouchy person if I don't spend time on my horse, if I don't spend time playing music. Maybe I need to write a song this week and I'm going to slice out some time to do it. So I really do. I have to take care of myself. And I know that about myself. The other thing I have to do is I have to pat myself on the back a little bit. I have to remember the way I talk to myself. And I have to say, wow, Faith, it was a hard day today. Good girl. You did really, really well. You did good. It was okay that it wasn't perfect. You really worked hard. Good girl, So I have to talk to myself like that because I didn't ever get that growing up or through my first 40 years of life or 50 years of life. When I finally realized nobody was going to pat me on the back, I need to get some acknowledgement somewhere. I had to get it from myself. So that works for me.
I love that. Positive self-affirmations. I love the nutrition, exercise, nature. I am so with you. I knew I loved you the first minute I met you because this is like, these are all, literally no lie. I spent about 2 hours about a week ago trying to determine what were the right vitamins, minerals, and nutrients I needed in my body. And I wrote it all down and started tracking my vitamins and all the things because we don't take the time to take care of ourselves, not our physical being or our spiritual and mental well-being. So thank you for that. Let me ask you a fun fact around self-care to share. For our listeners, if they want to know, oh my God, she's so gorgeous, look at her. What products do you use to make you feel you're confident and look your best? How are you just being so beautiful every day?
You're so sweet. And it's so funny to hear anybody say that because I never would have thought that I would be considered beautiful. But, of course, I'm going to tout Age Beautiful hair products because, oh my goodness, I don't want to go gray quite yet. I just am not ready to go there. I know a lot of women can pull it off, but I'm not willing to go there quite yet. So, of course, I've used that for over 10 years. Love it, love it, love it. Always have. So simple, so easy. I dye my own eyebrows. I dye my hair. And I don't know if you know how poorly I am at doing hair. So I'm not good at it. And I just literally shake that stuff up, squirt it all over my roots in all kinds of mixed, lines and crosses and wherever I want it. I don't know how it blends so well, but it comes out just natural looking. And people are always like, oh, your hair is so beautiful. So, I love that.
That's great.
I love the things that we can do easy at home and not have to pay $300 and go to a salon. Not to say there's anything bad with that if you have the money, but I have 2 dogs and 2 horses to feed. So, love that. Aside from that, I wash my face with Cetaphil lotion. It's just a bland, mild lotion. I usually put coconut oil on it. I've started to use oil of Olay with that. I don't know what it is in the little red thing. And then aside from that, I do use some eyelash serum. So my eyelashes, I don't know if they're all my own, and they just grow long because of that serum. And it's not that expensive. I buy it at Costco. I try to use sunscreen now. I had to have nose surgery, skin cancer surgery on my nose, which they're going to try to fix it a little bit, but I don't know, it's just a nose. But, I put a little makeup on that. So, again, try to use good skincare, but I really don't do much else. But the hair is a big one for me. Fresh dyed roots.
It looks
I
great.
love the feeling. It always feels so much better right when I've dyed my root.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. My three sons will stand over me because they're taller and they're like, "Hey mom, it's time to take care of those roots, mom." I'm like, "Thanks boys, just remind me that I'm going gray."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it's so sad when you wake up one day and you look in the mirror and you're like, oh my gosh, there is gray in my eyebrows. So, but it's so easy. When I dye my hair, I just put some on my
Yeah,
eyebrows.
it
It's
looks
so
great.
simple. So many women are like, oh, I would never do that. I just don't have the skill. I'm like, I don't have any skill. And it turns out perfect. So, yeah, you got to give it a try.
Well, thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. All right, I'm going to change directions a little bit and I want to talk a little bit about given the different amazing jobs and roles that you've had in your career, you've got to think about that your personal kind of private life and then that public persona, especially, in the latest iteration of that when you were on the Golden Bachelor, right? So my question is, how have you balanced kind of the private life and the public life slash persona?
It's funny. I am just the same person off and on the camera and on the radio. I mean, it is just me all the time. So I don't really see a big difference. I've never had a private life really because I've been on the radio since I was 18 years old and I was on TV. And I love the community people when they come up to me. I would never want to turn someone away, so I always acknowledge when someone says, oh my gosh, I love you, like, can I get a picture or whatever. That's so sweet, so kind. I mean, who would notice? I just I don't notice people walking down the street. I can't imagine how people do that, but it's always very, very sweet, and I'm always grateful. And I mean, people sometimes will just come right up and go, oh my gosh, I love you. Well, what do you say to a person that's telling you I love you? You automatically love someone that loves you. I mean, that just is what
That's right.
happens. So when someone is so kind, you just automatically love them. And what's wrong with more love in your life? So I don't have any problem with that. The only time it's been difficult is if, heaven forbid, I ever had a date and then people, are a little too boundaryless maybe coming up or whatever, or if I'm at lunch with my family and people crowd around the table and my sister used to say, could we ever have a lunch where people don't sit with you or come up to you? And I was like, no, I'm not going to turn them away because, so the only thing I would say to balance that is I try to say, well, it's so great to see you. Thank you for acknowledging me. And sure, let's take a picture. And then I need to get back to the lunch with my sister or something like
Yeah.
that. So I try to be kind. But as far as, I don't necessarily have a public persona. I am who I am. And I don't really, like I said, I'm pretty much just out there, and I live in a small town. That helps a little bit.
Yeah.
But everyone anyway in a small town. So
That's awesome. I love that. And that's great because it just takes so much stress off. Just be you. Just be you.
yeah. Oh gosh, I walk around in my cutoffs with my shorts with cowboy boots, no makeup on, and t-shirts, and I can blend in pretty well here with Hicktown, USA. I ride my horse to the grocery store sometimes. So where I live here in the Tri-City area, people are used to seeing me all kinds of ways, and they've just always been so accepting of who I am, and that's why I love living here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what's on the pike for you right now? Like what's happening latest for you in your career?
So, well, I've been in radio since I was 18 years old. I had spent 20 years at one company, Town Square Media, and I had left at one point because I moved over to the west side of the mountains to take care of my identical twin grandsons for a while. And I wanted to live over there with all my kids. I have two sons grown and all my grandkids. Well, then they thought that maybe they were going to move back here to the Tri-City area. My horse at the time happened to get sick. So long story short, I moved back. I couldn't go to my old company, so I switched companies because my old company had hired someone in my place. This was after 2 years that I was in Seattle. So I went with another company and I was there for the past 6 years. Since then, my old company has been trying to get me back and I just accepted a position with them. So I will go back to the morning show on 98.3 The Key. One of the reasons why I did go back is because I did the morning show there for a lot of years. It used to be the Faith and Big B show. We did the morning show together. And then I was on mornings for decades, with different morning co-hosts. And then in between there, I was a news anchor for KNGU Northwest Now. So there were a lot of places here. But the reason why I decided to go ahead and go back is because they're giving me a lot of freedom. One of the things I really want to do is do a little traveling. I want to spend winters in Arizona. And I like to do my show from home or on the road. So they've given me the green light to do my show on the road wherever I go. And I think I'm going to spend some winters in Arizona. I want to take my listeners on some journeys with me. I want to just, make it fun for them. So if they're sitting in the office stuck home, at least they can see that I'm, doing something fun elsewhere and they can follow along. We want to be really interactive with our listeners and let our community feel like they're taking the ride along with us, So it's fun to have that freedom and that availability to just be me and do what I want and take everybody along with me.
I love that.
And then on the side of that, I was in a band for 20 years and I quit that so that I could find love and ended up on the Golden Bachelor. And I quit my school teaching job because while I was on the Golden Bachelor, I had this realization that I'm working way too hard. So I was doing radio and teaching radio broadcasting at the TriTech Skills Center. So I did give that up. So it'll just be radio. And I've been doing some music recording of my own. I have 1 million original songs. So I've been just recording those in a little studio here and getting those out on Spotify. And it's not to try to get a record deal. It's not to try to be famous or do anything. It's just simply that these were recordings of my heart and my soul and my anguish and my sadness and my anger and my love and whatever it was. And I have to just get those out, get them down, send them on their way so that I can write new, happier songs. And so that's kind of where I am with that. I still like to create music. So I perform solo shows. And I think I gigged every weekend in June, taking July and August a little slower because of the heat. But I'll do that on occasion still too. And it's fun to connect with people in the area and share my music. And it's so fun when they say, look at my Spotify list. You've got the first 5 songs, So yeah, it's kind of nice.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love it. So, it's funny, as I've listened to you for the time that we've talked, I am hearing a woman who is just living and loving her best life. Yeah. God bless you. And it's just awesome. Yeah, really awesome.
And I ride horses. So I had a Frisian horse, big, black, gorgeous Frisian horse for 22 years. And he passed away. And now I have 2 other little horses, but I try to get in my ride time. I like to trailer up to the mountains and camp with my horses and take my dogs and get away and do some of that. And I love to play with my grandkids and my kids. We're super close. They're my best friends. So yeah, that makes life so much more meaningful for sure.
So I just want to say thank you, Faith. I think you have imparted to our listeners through your personal journey lots of wisdom and insights that they can take away. Obviously, the one we just talked about is live life to the fullest, have fun, enjoy yourself. It sounds like you've tried to make this your mantra in everything that you do, whether it's work or play. I also just want to reiterate couple of other really, really key things you said that I think will resonate with our listeners, our clients. That's seizing opportunities, right? Do what you love. Your difference and your challenges make you stronger. Self-care, all of those things, they're keys to success. And you are a remarkable exemplar of that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it. Get out there and don't be afraid to be bold and take on those opportunities because those turn out to be the funnest ones. I like that.
I'm writing be bold. Be bold with Faith Martin. So you can't see this, but I have a paper that's just like scribbled with notes all over it because this really is the stuff. These are the exact things that we talk to our women about. And they're you being the success that you are and being able to share this, like people look at you and think, oh, I could never be like her. Like she's so amazing and she's done all these amazing things. And then you tell your story of your true experience, your authentic experience, all the things. It's just awesome.
I wish we had more time, Michelle, because I got to tell you, the first time I ever played solo, I hardly could strum a guitar. And then, the first time I was on the air news live, never done that before in my life. The first time I sang with the band, the first time, when I went on the Golden Bachelor, somebody asked me once, because I was like, sometimes it's hard for me. And they're like, sometimes, like, why do you do these terrifying things? And I remember the first time I played solo, I was just shaking all the way through and I was so bad. But the key thing was, and this is so important that people know this, the world doesn't fall down around your feet if you're not perfect, right? So it's like the world doesn't stop turning if it doesn't turn out the way you want. So you prepare, you do the best you can, and you just go for it. And it's really okay if it's not perfect. And I think that's how everything has been with me. Like, I'll try it, what the heck? But it's not like it's always been pretty.
That's right. That's right.
It isn't. And that's the beauty of it. It's like, and the people that are in the background going, rah, 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 it's like, well, you don't even step out into the arena. So hello, it's like, plus I always figure I'm not there for the people that don't like me or want to ridicule me. I'm there for the people that are with me.
That's
so
right.
There's just some beauty in that, to feeling more comfortable no matter what it is you're doing.
I think that's another space where, like people who are looking at you as a role model or looking at any of us as role models maybe go, oh, she's so perfect and oh, she's got it all together. But what they don't know is every time you get behind that microphone or every time you get behind that camera, so often for me, every time I get ready to go do a speaking engagement, I'm like, oh my God, I'm nervous. Oh my God, I don't want to do it. And everybody's like, what are you, crazy? Like you're a natural. And I'm like, no, but I'm actually shaking inside. Like
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
they don't know that's real.
It's hard. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. We get anxiety. We don't sleep. And I used to try to memorize. I have 200 songs that I rotate. I have to go through lyrics nonstop, thinking of lyrics. And then when I'm thinking about rhythm, I'm thinking about words. I'm thinking about talking to the crowd. And the bottom line is, no, the only thing I think about is connecting with my audience. And if it works out that I play the right things and I sing the right lyrics, great. If not, I'll talk to the crowd, So I don't know. I guess it's just really that we are all human. We're in this journey at the same time. I've always felt like people's hearts are genuinely good and accepting, and they get it, and the people that don't, well, maybe next time they will, or they'll be in a situation where something makes it so they can understand that piece of it, because it really is about us all connecting as humans and not having to be perfect for anyone.
That's exactly right. Is there anything else that you would want to share that perhaps I didn't ask you a specific question about?
I felt like lately when you said, are you living your best life, right? I feel like I am, because I feel like I figured out the secret of life all of a sudden. And people are like, well, what is it? And somebody shared it with me one day in Costco. And she said, well, what's meant for you will always be. And I went, stop, wait, say that again. And she goes, well, just say it to yourself. What's meant for me will always be. And so I thought about that, and I thought, well, that sure takes a lot of anguish and anxiety. And, if you can let go of the attachment to anything and realize what's meant for you will always be. Look at the opportunities, be open to them. If it's meant for you, you'll have it. And then what that does do is it takes away the disappointment when you go for things that don't work out for you. So that was the one thing, right? And then I think also just realizing that the universe is always working in the background toward your highest good, and believing that and being grateful for it, being grateful for all the good that happens on a continual basis, knowing that things are, happening in the background that you don't understand. And then later you connect the dots and go, oh, that's why I did that. So I guess that belief system, that really, believe it, see the good, believe it, and be grateful for it.
Oh, that is awesome. Thank you so much, Faith. That's like,
You're
it
so
really,
welcome.
it really, no, it really is. It really is perfect. I mean, you just reminded me of a conversation. I have three sons, 22, 23, and 26. And one of them said something to me the other day about a job opportunity that they were pursuing. And he goes, yeah, well, that one didn't work out, but the other one did. And I'm kind of wishing the other one really worked out. And I said, you know what, son, what's meant for you is going to be for you. So just let it
Yes,
go. Just let
let
it
it
go.
go.
And
Hmm.
you're right. It's so liberating when you just let it
Oh,
go and just go forward.
yeah. Letting go of any attachment to any person, place, thing, anything. It's like I let go of the attachment to any outcome
That's
and
right.
just be thankful for what I have. And then it just seems like more good just tumbles in.
I love it. I
So,
love it.
yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you. Before we go, I just want to give a special shout out to Faith Martin. Faith, we really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for being our guest on our first episode of our podcast of More Than the Dress. I'm super excited too for our next episode, and I hope you are too. You can find More Than the Dress wherever you get your podcasts, so be sure to tune in. So don't forget to follow us at Dress for Success on all of our social media platforms. And if you want to learn more about our organization, you can visit us at dressforsuccess.org. This is Michele Meyer-Shipp signing off. See you soon.